Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on,
Yes,
Sima, thanks for being with me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Denny?
Can't complain rather well. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know that this was the way to go? So tell us what you do for a living, please.
Okay, well, today I'm an international keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and personal brand coach. But my first career, I spent 20 years in corporate marketing.
Yeah, I was about to ask that because that's quite something that you're doing, and I don't think you were just walking the street one day and you were like,
Oh,
"Let me do some coaching."
no,
So, yeah,
yeah. The truth is, I had a volatile career as a young marketer because I was in high tech, mostly high tech. So of my 20 corporate years, I spent 13 in mostly software and the internet, right when the internet was booming. I know I'm dating myself, but
yeah. No,
uh,
I mean, in all fairness, you do look 26, so
yeah, so I learned how to market myself because I was always looking for the next job. There was always a dot-com bust, acquisition, a merger. Somebody was it was crazy times, and I had to get really good at finding my next job. And I discovered that that is a skill I can teach others. And so, what started as teaching people how to make a name for themselves for finding work turned into making a name for yourself when you're in sales, when you're a corporate go getter and you want to get promoted. And so now I teach people simply how to market themselves.
that's pretty solid, and it's pretty good that you went into that direction the first place about 20 years ago. I gotta say, because I'm in the same sector, and it is ridiculously dynamic. It's quite something. I remember I was working for Hewlett Packard one
Yeah.
time for about 2 years, and I made a procedure about my day-to-day activities at the very start of my job there. And when I left 2 years afterwards, my supervisor came to me and said, "Are you sure the procedure is all right? Because your successor will need it." So yeah, I wrote it. It's perfect. So when you wrote it, I like, but when I started here 2 years ago, and you're like, yeah, no, why don't you just review it just real quick? And it had almost nothing to do with like, because everything is the same, and there were minor changes here and there, or
Right.
bi-weekly or monthly changes. But when times passes, like 2 years, it was crazy. I mean, I wrote the procedure and I'm the one doing it day to day. Even I didn't knew what to do with the current one. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, and I loved being a marketer. When I was a young girl in college, I wanted to work for like a fabulous advertising agency on Michigan Avenue here in Chicago. I thought it would be so glamorous. And as it turns out, my very first job was as a secretary in the marketing department of a power tool company. I mean, it couldn't be further from
Yeah.
sexy Michigan Avenue, but I got my start and I got more interesting jobs as my career moved on. And then one day I wound up in the internet in the mid 90s, and it changed everything.
It sure does, and it's tremendously dynamic field. Now, you covered it a little bit that you spent about 20 years there and then you moved to coaching,
Right.
which is pretty good. It's pretty impressive. It requires a lot of skills. It requires a lot of soft skills, communication, and so on and so forth. Now, my third question is, how did you knew that this was the way to go? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm sure you've noticed that too. People tend to go to colleges, to universities because they have that stigma that once you get this piece of paper, your life will be tremendously easy and all will be flowers and roses. And it's not like that. That might
Oh,
have been true about 40, 50 years ago, but it's not like that. I'm giving that example every now and then. My father told me that his father, my grandfather, told him that, whatever you do, do whatever you do, just study whatever you want. But make sure you know how to fix a TV because everybody have a TV in their own home, and if you know how to fix it, you will never be out of a job. And I
I love
personally
it.
don't know anyone who has ever had to fix a TV. Just throw it away after 7 years and buy a new one. It's always
Right.
been like that ever since I was born.
Right.
So times are quite dynamic, as we said. Now, I wanted to ask how you specifically knew because with all that experience, 20 years is a long time, it's a lifetime, and you've developed so many soft skills, you get to meet so many pretty solid people, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
you could have went any direction you basically wanted.
I don't know about that.
You
I'll tell
decided
you.
to go with that one, and why is that?
I fell into it backwards. To your point about your grandfather saying, if you know how to fix a TV, you'll never be out of work. I like to remind people that the decision you make right out of college need not be the one you're going to stick with for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And these days we live longer and maybe we retire early and we start our own business or we become a coach, a volunteer, a mentor, you do contracting, consulting. There's no one path forward. There's multiple paths forward. And I really think it's important for young people to remember that the decision isn't as heavy or as onerous as it may feel because you can change. I started out in marketing. I marketed power tools. Then I went into a private nonprofit for drug and alcohol abuse prevention and treatment. And then I went into commercial real estate development. And then I got into um, I took a job. I got my master's degree at night. So I have my MBA and I take my first director level job. And I think it's going to be great. And I lasted 90 days. It was a bad fit, a bad situation. I remember calling my mother. I was crying my eyes out. I'd never been canned from a job before. And she said, I'm so relieved. That was a miserable job. And you would have stayed and you would have tried to make it work. You would have never left. And it really opened my eyes to this idea that, we have to be aware of when it's a good fit or not. And it's hard when we're young, it's hard. We just want to succeed. So that was an eye opener for me. After being laid off and unemployed for several months, a friend of mine from that very same nasty job hooked me up with somebody in this magical land of internet startups. And that's how I got into high tech. And I spent 13 years there. But it was volatile. I like to say I had more jobs than boyfriends at the time. I kept bouncing around.
Well, you're a lady, so that's a good thing.
It was exhausting. And what happened was I started working for a multinational, an international um, Big 10 software company. But my job was getting smaller and smaller, and I liked it less and less because I'm a big strategic thinker. And so I started freelancing on the side. So I worked from home. I picked up a couple side clients, and one of those clients, this is where the dumb luck happens, actually brought me in nearly full time after the bigger software company acquired my top 10 software. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So here I am, I'm freelancing. A client hires me and he says to me, you know a lot about social media, social networking. I want you to talk to my sales team. And about the same time, I was volunteering for the board of the American Marketing Association, and somebody on the board asked me to talk to their sales team. It was in the insurance industry. And I started speaking about what I knew, what I loved, my passion, helping people. And I found I had an affinity for it. I had a knack for it. And if I look back in time, I can point out at every job I've ever had where somebody asked me to speak about something, to address the audience about a change or a new program. And I realized I loved it. What I didn't love was being a consultant because you're always looking for work, selling the work, delivering the work, and then you got to get people underneath you. And the next thing you know, I'm behaving like a mini marketing agency. Only problem is I spent my entire career corporate side. and I didn't know anything about running a little agency. So I gravitated towards this speaking. Speaking led to training, training to coaching. It's been 16 years, but it hasn't always been pretty, hasn't always been easy. And there are days I wish I had a boss and a 9 to 5 and I could go back to the old days. But it literally was somebody asked me to speak, and then somebody heard me and asked me to speak, and then somebody asked me to put together a workshop. So by and large, I responded to requests of people who saw me in a different place. They saw me in a higher place than the place I was in. So I've gotten really good at listening to the universe, if you will, when opportunities present themselves. Just because I had blinders on, I wanted to be the chief marketing officer.
Yeah,
I
it
had
sounds
to
good.
take the blinders off and see what's around you, because you can take a turn, take a twist, even do a 180 degree and be even more happy in your work.
I can relate 100%. I've always been in accounting and finance. This is my high school background is like that, but bachelor, master, I was about to do a PhD. I decided not to. Sorry. Uh, so I've always been, there have been 5 months of my entire career, about 14 years so far. 5 months, because a dear friend of mine gave me a course for my birthday, CCNA for Cisco. And it was amazing because once you graduate, you're a hardware architect.
That's
It sounds pretty good. I was so miserable. I hated every second of it. I
right.
worked as such for about 5 months. And I don't even know if there were 5 months. It was more than four for certain, but there was, I don't know, about 5 months. And especially I know what your mother meant by, oh, I'm very happy that you're no longer there, because there was a good friend of mine and we were at a bar, and back then I was way younger. I think I was 25 or something, and so we were
Yeah.
basically at a bar almost every night. And like we should go and see Tony. Now Tony is a bar owner, and it's in the same neighborhood, in the same area. I really didn't like Tony. Tony was a nasty man, and he didn't like me. And I'm like, well, why would I go there? I don't like him, and he don't like me either. And this friend of mine said, well, actually, Tony hates you, and you look so miserable that he would have a pretty nice evening. He might even buy me a drink. So it's worth a try. I'm like, why would you even suggest that? But and he did it just to push my buttons a little bit, and I completely understand it. So I just left. It really wasn't for me. I could relate to your story 100%.
The other thing I like to remind young people is you can have a boss that you don't like, but when the culture or the supervisor, the boss, when it becomes toxic to your health, and I have been there not once but twice, almost 3 times, you really have to take the reins and steer your career in another direction. You have to find another supervisor because it eats away at you and you
Yeah.
become smaller inside because you're doubting everything, you're miserable, I mean, it can impact your overall health. I remember one job, I had quit smoking. I was a pack a day when I was younger.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it took me 4 tries. But I remember this one job. It was so bad. I started smoking again. I gained 20 pounds. My husband was like, what the heck? When I got laid off from that job, he was the first one to say, I'm so glad they were killing you.
I I have seen it with my own eyes, only in Europe, but I'm sure it's elsewhere as well. There are people that are actually willing to work for a little bit less.
Yes,
Things are pretty awesome in their company. Like
that's
if
right.
you go over there and you can't wait to go over there, see your colleagues and have lunch with them. Because I'm
Yep.
in that kind of an environment, and it's pretty awesome. It's actually pretty good. And
It's
I know a lot
fantastic.
of people that have a tremendous earnings are tremendous. They earn a lot. Like for I think like my salary for about 4 or 5 months is their monthly salary. So they're doing pretty well. Those people, most of them are miserable. Not all,
That's
but
right. That's right. And you can do that for so long if you have your eye on the prize and you say, I'm going to do this for a year, but then you have to get out. You have to make yourself whole and happy and then enjoy your work more because, I mean, we only get this one shot and life goes fast. It
Yeah,
does.
it does. I have a fourth question, and I never put it in there. I know you can talk forever about it, and I'm sure you have tremendous things to say about it. But if you can say it within a few words, if you can give my audience one advice regarding profession, regarding university, or regarding life itself, what will it be?
Just one advice.
I
uh,
know you can do it forever. So.
well, when I was young, we didn't take internships on college breaks as much. We worked jobs, but we weren't serious about our career. And I see all these young kids getting really meaningful work experience, which helps them hit the road running when they graduate. And I think we can be overly worried about our careers. In the beginning, it might take a little time to find your way, but you will. Everybody does. You're not going to end up the street sweeper. Nothing wrong in that profession, but
Yeah.
if you're going to school and you're making the best grades you can and you're a good person and you work hard to find work, you will find work. If you're somebody who likes to get internships, then by all means, start working as early as you want. But I think we get a little bit crazy with, I mean, now we have students taking gap years, and I love it because, I have a friend who's out of work right now, and she's 59 years old. And she said to me, she got a nice severance package. So she's taking a little time off for herself. And she said, I've never not worked since
Yeah.
the day I started college. I've never not worked. And you're going to work your whole life, race up to the retirement line. And there's some thought to maybe enjoying the ride a little bit more. If you can work for people you like and trust, if you can make a good living and achieve your dreams, maybe stop and smell the roses. Take those vacations. I know people who never take their vacation days. What is that? That's a very American thing. I know in Europe you take your
I know
time
that
off.
too. I very rarely take my vacations.
Oh, you got to take your vacations. See the
I
world
know.
and enjoy life. That your career is everything, but then again, it's nothing without having a rich, full, meaningful life.
No, I completely agree. Definitely not an American thing, only because there was a statistics that shocked me a little bit. The average worker in the European Union has 20% less days off than the medieval peasant in Europe, which made
Wow.
me a little bit bitter. So yeah, we have about, on average, about 20 days off from work, and that's if you don't count the days here and there in the year that every country has.
Yeah,
So on average, we have about 30 days off, and the medieval peasants had like 40 something.
yeah, yeah. In America, in the United States anyway, when you start work, you maybe get 2 weeks, which is 10 days.
Yeah,
10
well,
days. And
that's
it's hard. And we only get, the Family Leave Act is like, you have a baby, you get like very little time compared to our European colleagues and our
yeah.
Canadian.
Now here in where I am, so you have 1 year of
That's right.
how do you call it? Maternity leave.
Yep.
1 year of maternity leave, which is full paid. 1 year, the second year is fully paid again, but on minimum wage. And a third year, which the mother does not receive any payment, but she cannot be removed from the working place.
Yeah, you're
So
very
basically, we have
progressive.
3 years of maternity, although you can negotiate for a little bit longer, which happens every now and then. But it's 3 years is a good.
It's a beautiful thing. We have like 3 months.
Yeah, probably won't be very happy with 3 months.
No, no, and very few companies have paternity leave, although it's getting a little bit better. But you've got to take advantage of your time off. Take the days. do something meaningful to make the world a better place, whether that's volunteering or growing a garden or just smiling at a senior citizen crossing the sidewalk. Like, don't be so career focused that you lose sight of life. That's my advice.
It's a perfect advice. I totally agree, although I'm not following your advice all the time. But in my defense, there is a lake near my place, so I'm going there during the weekends.
I
So
love it.
some boat rolling, but yeah, during the week I'm kind of stuck. But I really, really love that advice because it's tremendously important. And I don't remember even hearing this term burnout. When
Oh,
we were growing up, that never happened. I mean, people knew they should take some time off.
well, like in my last time in Europe, it's been a little bit, but a lot of the stores were closed on Sunday because it's a day
Yeah.
of family, it's a day of rest. We're open in the States like 24/7 practically. Like there's no days off, there's no days of rest. People are running so hard and we get less time off and we work longer hours. So we see a lot of people who are so focused on their careers um, that they do burn out. And what they do is they quit. They quit their job for a
Mm.
higher paying job, and they're always climbing the ladder, climbing the ladder. And a lot of reasons clients hire me to talk to their high potential talent is to teach them how to market themselves in the enterprise, so they don't have to leave. They can get ahead right where they are. It's a saner approach and less turnover for the employer, which is everybody wins.
Yeah, well, here in the South, Greece excluded because they're not like that. We have stores that are always open, either 24/7 or from 6 in the morning until 11 o'clock in the evening, which is pretty
Yeah,
good. But let's say the store needs like 10 people to be functional. So the store owner has to hire 22 people instead of
that's right.
10. And because someone can get sick and so on and so forth. So the store is always open and it works during the weekends as well, but people always have some weekend aside.
Yeah,
And it's pretty good thing because a lot of people are you know making some extra money during the weekend because it's double
sure,
the
sure.
and mostly young people are hired to do the job during the weekend so that the people with family can enjoy the
That's
family day.
right. That's right. And there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle and earning extra money, buy a
Yeah,
house or get your first condo or a new suit, whatever you need.
couldn't agree more. And with that said, Sima, I know you're busy. Huge thanks for being with me. Uh,
Penny, thank you. This has been delightful.
Likewise, and we should do it again.
All right.
All right, bye. Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.